Hey y'all. Oh my gosh. So this is crazy because about 6 years ago, 7 years ago now, I used to come to this pond every day when I was also unemployed like I am as of recently again. So it's kind of very full circle. I used to come here and meditate and smoke a blunt. I have too much shame in smoking a blunt nowadays. I just do it in the vicinities of my own home. But I do have my vape. Not much of a solace. It's been so long since I've been here, and they used to have a table. So my plans kind of went astray, and they're also doing construction over here. I think they're rebuilding the pool that they shut down for many, many, many years. So that'd be cool if I'm gonna show you guys. See all that? So back in the day, my dad and I used to go to this pool. And it's so funny because we used to live not even 5 minutes away from here, and we would have to drive over here, and now he lives right across the street and the pool is just not available. But yeah, I have a lot of good memories summertime with my dad because I would spend the weekends with him. And it's crazy because I had a lot of anxiety coming here, like, oh my god, people are gonna see me on camera. I don't really care. I do care. Yeah, you can see the geese and whatnot. I really need to get a better setup and a holder and everything, so let's see what I can do. See how I can improvise. Usually my plans go astray. It's not the best angle. Sun? Moon? So yeah, I'm back on the south side visiting my dad, and I just thought I'd come here and chit chat before I go in. I don't have as much anxiety as I used to about seeing him. We have a good relationship. It's just kind of strange, and my brother passed away where he lives, and it's hard for me to go there, and he's comfortable with where he lives. But I do have to, it's like a storage space for me, so I have to go back, and I want to grab a lot of clothes that hopefully still fit. You guys, I hate buying clothes because I always get really down on myself when they don't fit a certain way. Things are too big or too small, and ideally, things would be perfect, but recently I went to the store and was pleasantly surprised that the shorts were too big, so that's a good thing. Yeah, it's just crazy how full circle everything is as far as being back to the same place that I was many moons ago before re-meeting Jonathan and finding comfort in it. Oh, there's cute birds. He has a feather in his mouth. I hate to compare myself to Snow White, y'all, but I communicate with the animals. I know that's crazy, but I am, as some of you may know, a squirrel protector. I always help them right at the moment that they need it when crossing the streets, these crazy streets of Chicagoland. Yeah, I just love all creatures. I'm like a bird, I only wanna fly away. If you don't know that song, it's Nelly Furtado, and you're probably too young to be here. You're just not cultured. But, yeah. I have a special place in my heart when it comes to this place. It's the south side of Chicago. I always say I'm a north side girl with a south side heart. Just because I was raised on the north side, but I spent all my weekends here growing up for over 18 years. Spending time with my dad. Oh, there's the cutest, I think the bird is sleeping. Yeah, he's still alive. I'm gonna leave him alone. Nature is just so beautiful. As a plastic, do you ever feel like a plastic bag floating through the wind and you start again? Yes, Katy Perry, all the time. So I was thinking, I've been thinking a lot. Do you think it'd be weird if I just go to the playground and just start recording myself? Just a single gal with no kids, chilling by the playground having conversations. Well, I thought while I'm here that I shall share a story that actually happened, and that I'm no longer associating this place with pain. And what I mean by that is, okay, so the background of my life goes, don't mind the background noise. I don't know how far back you want to go. Well, I was born into a family of 3 older brothers, and when I was born, I was not supposed to be born. It was a whole thing. My mom wasn't going to have me. She had me. So I was very much worshipped and adored and spoiled and coddled and was treated like a princess for the first few years of my life. Well, throughout my life, yes, but I was just praised, and I was such a happy baby and such a loving baby. And I see old videos of me, and I was just, I look at those videos as if I wasn't that baby, and I'm just like, oh my God, what a cute, sweet baby, you know, just saying hi to everybody with a smile and glued to the TV because I've always been into entertainment and all that other stuff. Sorry, I'm just trying not to get distracted by other people walking around. So reality hit as I got older, seeing that, you know, when everyone treated me so special, that, I mean, I am special, but I wasn't so special, you know, and reality got harsher and harsher as I got older. And my family, my entire family, including my brothers, my mom, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, my grandparents, and who knows who else, all suffer from various amounts of mental illness that you cannot really slapstick one name on, but probably along the diagnoses of schizophrenia, bipolar, multiple personality, all the things that you can possibly think of. So I think now that I was born to be the healer of my family, the baby Yoda, if you will, because I was always a peacemaker and always not the middleman, but just the glue, you know. And that's kind of how I feel about my youngest kitten. Side note, he's the glue to the fur family because they all really don't get along, but he's the reason that they get along. So I kind of compare myself to that, which ironically, Milo means soldier, and he also reminds me of Baby Yoda. And like sometimes his ears go a certain way, and it's really cute. So there is history, and we can delve more into the crevices. I think I started talking about this and saying how intricate all of these details are. But as I've gotten older and gotten to know my family and myself, learning more stories and whatnot, there's history of the mental illness, but there's also like weird incestual things. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm talking about like incest. My mom was raped by her uncle. Weird things have happened with my cousins. There's been like really weird boundaries that were crossed with my own brothers, except for my oldest brother. He's the only normal one, which ironically everyone thought he was the weird one. He's the only one that's been like literally a father figure in my life as far as my brothers are concerned. So he's excluded in that. But my 2 brothers, the middle and the youngest, were always kind of inappropriate with me, like very borderline, but like just weird things. And I say this now because I'm prefacing it for the story that I'm building up to. The sun's getting like warmer in my face, so I feel like I'm on a good trail here. So I'm just setting the foundation for what's about to come, because growing up, my eldest brother, he was he's significantly older than me, so he was never really around. But my middle and youngest were usually around, and they live with my dad on the south side, which is here. And that's what I was talking about, associating this place with pain, because it was a reminder, being such a young baby. My parents divorced when I was like 1 or 2, so I grew up with it, and it didn't really make it that much easier, but it was really hard because it wasn't like my dad just lived around the corner. My mom took me with her back, so it doesn't matter. It does matter. So we were on the north side when I was born. My mom moved us down to the south side because the south side was cheaper and they had a really nice house. My mom divorces my dad, says, you can keep the house for 7 years, but in 7 years you're gonna have to sell it because I want your money, and I'm taking Ashley, me, my middle name, with me back up north. So this was like, he lives like an hour and a half down south, and to do that commute every weekend for most of your life, it was kind of exhausting. And it wasn't like he just lived around the corner, you know. It'd be different. I think it'd be a different story if we lived in the same area, if he was a few minutes away, what have you not. Sorry, my arm's like shaking. I need to stand. But it was just a lot of my mom always took care of me. My parents always took care of me. They always spoiled me. They gave me everything I wanted. Very blessed in that regard. But there was a lot of emotional and mental turmoil that I personally went through because of the dysfunctions of my family. And as I got older, my brothers, and when I say brothers, I mostly mean my middle and my youngest, started to resent me more and more, to see how highly favored I was in the family as the baby, and that I didn't get to experience the level of abuse that my mom put onto them before I was born. She was very physically, mentally, verbally abusive towards all of them. And then after I was born, she tried to calm down, and I did see those parts of her throughout my life growing up, but it wasn't as severe. It was never as severe as before I was born. So they kind of resented me for that. And she's calmed down a lot now, but you know, she's always going to be a little off, and I'm a product of her, so I can't really talk. So just dysfunction. And my middle brother Richard, the late Dick, which, by the way, I didn't even know that Dick, D-I-C-K, was a nickname for Richard until way years later down the line after he died. So talk about missed opportunity. So I will refer to him as Dick because he was a dickhead. Let's face it. He was a huge dickhead, but he had a good heart. He had a great heart. And I think all he ever wanted was, and he told this to my aunt, but all he ever wanted was like a good family, you know, a strong, tight-knit family. And we never really had that. We would have it for a little bit, and then it would just flush out. And I don't want to blame my mother and everything, but she had a heavy hand in a lot of things with the relationships between us and our immediate and distant family, my stepfather's side. So it was always a lot of drama, always a lot of chaos. And my mom comes from a background of craziness and being the scapegoat of her family and just a lot of stuff. So that infiltrated into our family dynamics growing up, and it affected my relationships with my family, and then later on down the line as I grow up, my friends, my relationships, my jobs. So I think that's why I'm here figuring out, like, you know, how to break the cycle. Sorry, like, I'm scared y'all are gonna drop in the water. My arms are so tired. Need a stand. Need a stand. So my middle brother was in and out of the military, and he was gone for most of my life until I was about 14, and he comes back. And mind you, you know, he was already mentally unwell, but after he went into the Marines, which I don't think he ever actually went anywhere, but just the mental torture of that, being told what to do and all this other shit, he just became more deranged than he ever was. And he slowly started diving more into the deep end. And he met this woman. he moved to Texas. It doesn't matter what year, how old or whatnot, but we just had a very on and off again relationship where he'd be really mean to me and abusive and say things and put me down, and then he'd praise me, and it was just always very on and off again. Like, he was legitimately bipolar. I found out later that he was diagnosed by a doctor as bipolar, and he was on medication when he passed away, and that's a whole thing in itself. So again, because I was younger and no one really told me things, I don't know the specific details, but I'll just tell you what I know, surface level, whatnot. Again, doesn't matter what year, what have you not, but at this point growing up, I'm a teenager, becoming an adult. I'll just flash forward to when he married this lady who he moved to Texas. He met this lady in Texas, and sometimes I just think why things happen the way that they do. And she was toxic in itself, and that's definitely a separate story for a different day. That's stories, multiple stories, intricacies, but for now I'm gonna tell you the overhead of it. So she came from New York. I know she changed her name 2 times. She had 2 different kids by 2 different people who I think were both in jail for reasons we don't know what. So she was already suspicious, and I just knew that she was hiding something. And I don't know how old these kids were at the time, but I would say, let's say 8 and 10. And it was a girl and a boy. And the girl was kind of a shit. She was just kind of shitty, but it wasn't really her fault. And the kid was really sweet, but he was misunderstood. And my brother, Dick, really gravitated towards the boy and really favored him. And then would put the girl down and like kind of make her feel ostracized. And the woman he was with was such a pushover, but you could tell that she was like soft in spirit, but like you could tell that she could snap if you really like set her over the edge. So I don't know. I didn't really know that woman too well, but they had a really toxic relationship. Really, really toxic. Super toxic. I compare them to Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander, and if you don't know that case, I would say look it up, because ironically, they kind of look similar to these people. Although Travis Alexander is like full white, my brother did have very similar features to him. And this woman had like, it ironically happened on the same year, around the same month. And it's so crazy, because I don't think we heard about that case until years after it happened. So anyway, that's a different story for a different day, intricacies. So they had a toxic relationship. And I mean, I would see things, I would hear things. I'll get more into it later. But it was just very bad. And then I don't know what their financial situation was, but they were staying at my mom's on the north side for a while. And that's where I would see everything go down, and it was just weird and toxic and abusive and all this other stuff. I was trying to mind my business, stay out of it. And then eventually my brother and his wife moved to the south side with my dad, and that was just an overextended stay. And my dad has a small condo since my mom kicked him out of his nice house, took the money, and left my dad in a small rinky-dink apartment, who planned to move out years ago and has been overextending his stay here. Like, I've lost track of time, but the plan was only for him to be there temporarily, and he's been here for well over the amount of time that we planned. But it works for him. It's just sad, because again, I'm trying not to associate this place with pain anymore, and it feels like a wound that's healed that has a band-aid over it, and I find peace in coming here now. But for a long time I just couldn't come here. So eventually, somewhere down the line, and it was important that I tell you this, because my cousin, who I won't name at all, I won't even say what the gender is, because I just don't even want to get involved, but you guys can assume that there was a cousin that I have, she didn't die, they didn't die, who kept coming around the family. And again, remember the history of incest and all this stuff. So my brother, I noticed, was always attracted to younger, okay, I'm just gonna have to tell you the gender, obviously. So he was always attracted to younger women, and he would say things inappropriately about my cousin, the girl across the street. It was just really weird. So he definitely had like pedo vibes, like for sure, 1000%. And there were things that he would say to me that were always a little questionable. But he never did anything to me as far as physically goes, but there were a lot of questionable things. So he just had a mental illness. Now, for whatever reason, at some point, this cousin starts coming around more often, and she just gravitates towards the son of the wife of my brother and uses that as a reason, I don't want to say an excuse, but a reason to come around more often and start sleeping over at my dad's. Well, you can assume what happens next. Inappropriateness. We don't know the exact details. My brother was 1,000% in the wrong, assaulted and or RA'd my cousin. Yeah. So shit obviously gets messy from there. It is downhill. My cousin tells the family, war is just created. This guy has obvious charges against him. This goes on for a span of several years. He gets a slap on the wrist, but I think he didn't go to jail, but he got labeled as a sex offender for the rest of his life and started to become extra paranoid. And they say that paranoia is what drove him to take his own life. Now, I will say that there is a strong, I'm going to say 85% chance that my brother killed him, took his own life, because of his mental state, because he was on those medications that we didn't know about till afterwards. So that could have had an effect on it. He also told me himself that there were times that he felt like taking his own life. Now, I was very young at the time, and I didn't know how to respond to it. Suicide wasn't really a thing, as much of a known thing as it is now, and it has progressed since this was 2008. So I just remember being like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You know, shut the fuck up. You're fine. So he was definitely suicidal. But there were weird things that happened that transpired that it sounded like kind of a movie where this woman might have had a hand in it, because there were a lot of questionable things. First of all, my dad said she changed her routine that morning, where she always did the same thing every morning. She always did the same exact thing. Mind you, they overstayed their welcome with my dad for a long time. So she screwed up that routine. She didn't do the same thing that she did, and she went straight to his room where he was already dead. Now, mind you, I wasn't there, but that day, my dad was there. And that's why I don't know if he would actually do that to himself in my dad's house, because my brother loved my dad so much. I don't think he would have the balls to do that to himself and also do it in my father's home, where he now lives and doesn't want to come out of that bubble because he feels a comfort to him. So we'll never know. I mean, we might know, but the fact of the matter is, how he died doesn't really matter, but does. But the fact is, he's gone. And I want to say he's at peace, but sometimes I think that he's in a weird limbo because of something a psychic once told me, and that she told me that he was wrongfully killed. So that was without giving any information. Now, that lady did rip me off, and it was kind of a hoopla, but she did know a lot of things that not the normal average person would know. So if that is the case, justice will be served in its own form. But my father found him that morning, and it just scarred him for life, and my father is scarred for life. And we just disassociate, and I feel so bad for him. And when my brother was alive and he thought he was going to jail, my brother made my dad promise that he was going to jail, that he'd promise to visit him every single weekend. So now that my brother's gone, my dad goes to visit him at his grave every single weekend. I've only been to Dick's grave a handful of times, but every time I go over there, it's on the south side as well. I just know where to go exactly. Like, I'm usually not good with directions, but my heart just follows, and he's by my grandpa. But I'd say I've been there 5 or 6 times, and out of those times, I think like 4 times my dad was there. And it was like a random day, you know? I think I'll probably go visit him after this, but we'll see. I get weird about graves, and I just don't think that people are associated with where they're buried, and I don't want to be buried, but it's just a respect thing. So yeah, I am healing. I'm not currently healed, but I'm healing from the trauma that I associated with this place. But driving here was weird. I feel like I got, when I was driving closer to my dad's, I was about 9 minutes away. I got the whiff of like his house smell, you know? And I'm like, I just felt like comfort and home, and I know he'll be happy to see me. Needless to say, our family's been broken before Dick and after Dick, but severely after Dick. And we've all kind of disassociated and don't really have like a strong relationship. But I know he's watching over me. And if he is in a weird limbo place somewhere, I'm gonna help him get out. Sometimes I think that's why the weird stuff happens to me, as far as like the weird physical attacks lately, from unknown forces. But those are my beliefs, and we'll see if they unfold. But what I'm learning more now is to be able to trust my intuition, because I haven't always been right in the past, but I feel like it's getting stronger and stronger now in my convictions. I also want to give a shout out to Ariel888. I'll tag her down below. She is a true light and star of this world, and I'm so grateful to have found her randomly, and she has inspired me and helped me to be more open and just share my story, because in her sharing her story helped me heal. And I think we're just all here to help each other. So thank you for your time. I'm sorry about the camera situation, but it feels really good. Things feel like they're on a transition. Peace.